The sabotage the last independent captain. Elena Vasquez pressed her palm against the cool metal of her ship's hull, feeling the subtle vibrations that told her everything was running smoothly. The Meridian wasn't the biggest cargo hauler in the outer rim, nor the fastest, but she was reliable. More importantly, she was free. In a galaxy where the Zephyrian Trade Council controlled 90% of all shipping routes, that freedom was becoming increasingly rare. Elena had spent 15 years in the Earth Colonial Navy before buying her own ship. She'd seen enough of war to know that sometimes the greatest battles weren't fought with plasma cannons and missile arrays. Sometimes they were fought with cargo manifests and shipping schedules. The Zephyrians understood this better than anyone. The bridge of the Meridian was cramped but efficient, designed by someone who knew that space was precious on a cargo vessel. Elena settled into her captain's chair, watching the star field through the forward viewport. They were 3 days out from Kepler Station, carrying medical supplies and agricultural equipment to the farming colonies on the rim. It was honest work, and it paid well enough to keep her crew fed and her ship flying. "Captain, we're getting a priority transmission from Zephyrian Control," announced Marcus Chen, her chief engineer and oldest friend. Marcus had served with her in the Navy, and when she'd bought the Meridian, he'd been the first to sign on. His dark eyes were troubled as he looked up from his console. Elena sighed. She'd been expecting this call for weeks. "Put it through, Marcus." The main screen flickered to life, revealing the angular features and pale blue skin of Commander Zethkri, the Zephyrian Trade Council's sector administrator. His species had evolved on a world with thin atmosphere and harsh sunlight, giving them an ethereal, almost ghostly appearance that many humans found unsettling. "Captain Vasquez," Zethkri's voice carried the usual tone of barely concealed disdain that Zephyrians reserved for independent human traders. "I trust you received our latest shipping regulations." "I did," Elena replied, keeping her voice neutral, "along with the notice that all independent human vessels are to be surrendered to Zephyrian Control within 30 standard days." "Correct. The Trade Council has determined that unregulated shipping poses a significant risk to galactic commerce. Human vessels will be integrated into our fleet, and their crews will be offered employment at standard rates." Elena felt her jaw tighten. Standard rates meant subsistence wages and no autonomy. It meant turning proud ship captains into wage slaves. "And if we refuse? Then your shipping licenses will be revoked, and your vessels will be impounded for violations of galactic trade law." Zethkri's expression remained impassive. "Surely you understand the logic, Captain. Efficiency requires organization. Organization requires control." "What I understand," Elena said carefully, "is that you're trying to eliminate competition by force." The Zephyrian's pale eyes narrowed slightly. "You have 27 days to comply, Captain Vasquez. I suggest you use them wisely." The transmission ended abruptly. Marcus whistled low. "They're really doing it. They're going to try to seize every independent ship in the sector." Elena stared at the blank screen, her mind racing. The Zephyrians had been gradually tightening their control over galactic trade for decades, using economic pressure and legal manipulation to force smaller operators out of business. But this was different. This was an open power grab. "Not if I can help it," she muttered. The hidden virus. 3 days later, as the Meridian approached Kepler Station, Elena was performing routine maintenance on the ship's primary computer core when she found it. Hidden deep in the quantum substrate of their navigation system was a piece of code that shouldn't have been there. It was elegant, sophisticated, and completely alien in its structure. "Marcus, get up here," she called over the intercom. "I need you to see this." Her chief engineer arrived within minutes, still wiping grease from his hands. "What's got you looking like you've seen a ghost?" Elena pointed to the holographic display showing the code structure. "Someone planted a virus in our system. It's been dormant, but according to this timestamp, it's scheduled to activate in 18 days. Marcus studied the display, his expression growing more troubled by the second. "That's 8 days before the Zephyrian deadline. Elena, this thing isn't just a virus. It's a complete system shutdown protocol. If this activates, we'll lose navigation, life support, communications, everything." They're not planning to impound our ships, Elena realized, her voice barely above a whisper. They're planning to disable them, make it look like human technology is unreliable, dangerous even. Then they swoop in as the saviors offering to rescue stranded crews. Those bastards. Marcus's hands clenched into fists. How many ships do you think are infected? Probably all of them. Every independent human vessel that's docked at a Zephyrian station in the past 6 months. Elena began calling up system logs tracing the virus's entry point. There, it came through the refueling system at Proxima Base, buried in what looked like a routine software update. So what do we do? Purge the system? Elena stared at the virus code, her engineer's mind analyzing its structure. It was beautiful in its complexity, a masterpiece of programming that would have taken human programmers years to develop. But there was something else, something that made her pause. No, she said slowly. We're going to do something else. We're going to study it. Marcus looked at her as if she'd lost her mind. Elena, that thing is designed to kill us. Maybe. Or maybe it's the key to our survival. She began isolating the virus, creating a secure partition where she could examine it safely. Think about it, Marcus. The Zephyrians created this to control our ships, but what if we could turn it around? Use it to enhance our systems instead of destroying them. Over the next several hours, Elena worked with an intensity that reminded Marcus of their Navy days, when she'd pull apart captured enemy systems to find their weaknesses. But this was different. Instead of looking for vulnerabilities, she was looking for opportunities. It's incredible, she murmured, not looking up from her work. This virus doesn't just shut down systems. It's designed to interface with them, to understand them at a fundamental level. The Zephyrians created it to be a perfect parasite, but parasites can become symbiotes under the right conditions. Elena, you're talking about letting an alien program integrate with our ship's systems. That's insane. Is it? She finally looked up, her eyes bright with possibility. We're outgunned, outmanned, and outmaneuvered. Traditional resistance won't work. But this could level the playing field. The first evolution working through. The night, Elena began the delicate process of modifying the virus. She removed its destructive protocols while preserving its adaptive capabilities. It was like performing surgery on a living thing, requiring precision and intuition in equal measure. The key is symbiosis, she explained to Marcus as she worked. Instead of the virus taking over our systems, we create a partnership. It gets the resources it needs to survive, and we get enhanced capabilities. And if it decides it doesn't need us anymore, then we'll deal with that when it happens. Elena made a final adjustment to the code, but I don't think it will. The virus was designed to understand systems, not to operate independently. It needs a host. She activated the modified virus in an isolated test environment, watching as it began interfacing with a simulated ship's computer. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, gradually, the system's performance began to improve. Navigation calculations that normally took minutes were completed in seconds. Power distribution became more efficient. Even the environmental controls began running more smoothly. It's working, Marcus breathed, staring at the readouts in amazement. Better than I hoped. Elena began preparing for the next phase. The virus is learning our systems, optimizing them. But this is just the beginning. She transferred the modified virus to the Meridian's actual systems, keeping careful watch for any signs of malfunction. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship seemed to come alive in a way Elena had never experienced before. Systems that had run independently for years began working in perfect harmony. The fusion reactor optimized its output without being asked. Navigation sensors recalibrated themselves for maximum accuracy. Even the artificial gravity felt more stable. "Captain," came a voice from the intercom, but it wasn't quite the ship's usual computer voice. There was something different about it, something more aware. "All systems are operating at optimal efficiency. How may I assist you?" Elena and Marcus exchanged glances. The ship's AI had never addressed her as captain before. In fact, it had never initiated conversation at all. "Status report," Elena said, carefully. "All systems green, Captain. I have also detected and corrected 17 minor inefficiencies in our current flight path. Estimated time to Kepler Station has been reduced by 4 hours." "Thank you," Elena replied. It felt strange, thanking her own ship, but it also felt right. Over the next few hours, the changes became more pronounced. The Meridian began anticipating Elena's commands, adjusting course and speed before she even realized changes were needed. The ship's sensors seemed sharper, picking up details that had been missed before. "Elena," Marcus said quietly, "I'm reading some unusual energy signatures from our engines. Nothing dangerous, but different." She checked the readings herself and found he was right. The Meridian's engine efficiency had improved by nearly 30%, and they were somehow generating more power than they were consuming. It should have been impossible. The virus is rewriting our basic operating system, she realized. It's not just optimizing what we have, it's improving it. The chase begins. Their arrival at Kepler Station was routine, but Elena noticed the stairs as they docked. Other captains watched the Meridian with expressions of puzzlement and envy. Their ship was running too smoothly, too efficiently. It was attracting attention. "Captain Vasquez," the station commander greeted her as she disembarked. "Your approach was interesting. My traffic controllers said your ship was performing maneuvers they'd never seen before. Just some modifications to our navigation system," Elena replied casually. "Nothing major." But it was major, and they all knew it. As news of the Meridian's enhanced performance spread through the station, other independent captains began seeking Elena out. They'd all received the same ultimatum from the Zephyrians, and they were all looking for options. Elena found herself in an uncomfortable position. She wanted to help her fellow captains, but she also knew that spreading the modified virus would attract even more attention. Still, the alternative was surrender, and that was unacceptable. Late that night, as the Meridian prepared to depart Kepler Station, Elena made her decision. She transmitted the modified virus to 3 other ships whose captains she trusted: the cargo hauler Prometheus, the passenger liner New Horizon, and the mining vessel Deep Strike. "If anyone asks," she told them over a secure channel, "you developed these modifications independently. The Zephyrians can't know we're working together." The response was immediate. Within hours, all 3 ships were reporting similar improvements to their systems. But something else was happening too. Elena began receiving data streams from the other ships, information she hadn't requested and couldn't quite understand. "The viruses are communicating with each other," Marcus realized, studying the data flows. "They're sharing information, coordinating somehow." "That's impossible. I didn't program them to do that." "Maybe you didn't have to. Maybe they evolved the capability on their own." The implications were staggering. If the modified viruses could communicate and share information, then every ship that carried one would be part of a larger network. They would have access to the combined knowledge and capabilities of the entire fleet. But enhanced capabilities came with a price. 3 days after leaving Kepler Station, Elena's long-range sensors detected a Zephyrian patrol squadron moving to intercept them. They were still 2 days out from the nearest human colony, too far to run and too isolated to call for help. "They know," Elena said grimly. "Somehow they know what we've done." The lead Zephyrian ship hailed them, and Commander Zethkri's face appeared on the screen once again. This time his expression was openly hostile. "Captain Vasquez, you will surrender your vessel immediately. Scans indicate you have been experimenting with forbidden technology." "I don't know what you're talking about," Elena replied. But she could see that Zethkri wasn't buying it. "Your ship's energy signature has changed dramatically. You are either harboring stolen Zephyrian technology, or you have developed weapons in violation of galactic law. Either way, you will be boarded and your vessel impounded." The transmission ended, and Elena felt the familiar chill that came before combat. But this time was different. This time she wasn't alone. "Captain," the ship's AI spoke, its voice now distinctly different from the standard computer interface. I am detecting tactical information from our allied vessels. Recommend evasive maneuvers pattern Gamma 7. Elena blinked. Pattern Gamma 7 was a Navy combat formation she'd never taught the ship. Somehow the AI had learned it. All hands prepare for evasive action, she announced over the intercom. Then to the AI, execute Gamma 7. What happened next would have been impossible with the Meridian's original systems. The ship twisted through space with a grace and precision that defied its bulky cargo hauler design. Zephyrian weapons fire passed harmlessly through spaces the ship had occupied moments before. But Elena knew they couldn't run forever. The Zephyrian ships were faster and more heavily armed. Eventually, they would be caught. That's when the real surprise came. "Captain," the AI said, its voice now carrying something that almost sounded like excitement. "I am detecting anomalous readings from the quantum substrate. The viral modifications have triggered something unexpected." "What kind of something?" "I'm not entirely certain, Captain, but I believe we are about to discover capabilities that neither of us knew we possessed." Elena felt a shiver of anticipation, mixed with fear. The modified virus had already exceeded her wildest expectations. What else might it be capable of? Behind them, the Zephyrian ships continued their pursuit, unaware that they were chasing something that had already evolved far beyond their understanding. Elena gripped her captain's chair and prepared for whatever came next. The chase was just beginning, but Elena was starting to suspect that she and her ship might not be the prey after all. The evolution the network awakens. The Meridian's impossible maneuvers had bought them time, but Elena knew it wouldn't last. 3 more Zephyrian patrol squadrons were converging on their position, and long-range sensors showed an entire battle fleet moving in from the core worlds. Whatever the aliens thought she had discovered, they were taking it seriously. "Captain Torres is requesting immediate communication," Marcus announced from his station. Torres commanded the Prometheus, one of the ships Elena had shared the modified virus with. Elena opened the channel, expecting to see the grizzled face of the veteran cargo captain. Instead, she found Torres staring at his own displays with a mixture of wonder and terror. "Elena, what the hell did you give us?" Torres demanded. "My ship is doing things I never programmed it to do. Navigation is plotting courses through space I've never seen mapped. My AI is talking to me like it's got opinions." "Same here," came another voice as Captain Sarah Kim of the New Horizon joined the channel. "But there's more. I'm receiving data streams from all of your ships. Technical specifications, tactical information, even personal logs. It's like our ships are sharing everything." Elena felt her heart rate spike. The virus modifications were evolving far beyond her original design. "How much information are we talking about?" "Everything," said Captain Rodriguez from the Deep Strike. "Engineering specifications, cargo manifests, crew records, even your grandmother's recipe for apple pie. The ships are creating some kind of collective database." "That's not all," Marcus said quietly, studying his console. "Elena, I'm detecting at least 12 more ships with similar energy signatures. The virus is spreading." The implications hit Elena like a physical blow. Every time one of the infected ships docked at a station or rendezvoused with another vessel, the virus found ways to replicate itself. It wasn't malicious, just following its adaptive programming, but the result was the same. The modification was propagating throughout the independent human fleet. "Captain," the Meridian's AI interjected, its voice now carrying distinct personality traits Elena had never programmed. "May I suggest that this development, while unexpected, may be advantageous to our survival?" "Explain," Elena said. "The Zephyrian forces pursuing us number 47 vessels with combined firepower, sufficient to destroy any individual human ship. However, the emerging network of enhanced vessels now numbers 15 and growing. If we coordinate our actions, our collective capabilities may exceed theirs." Elena stared at the tactical display, watching as more and more ships appeared with the telltale energy signatures of viral enhancement. Each one was stronger, faster, and more capable than before. But more than that, they were connected, sharing information and capabilities in real time. It's not just 15 ships, she realized. It's 15 ships acting as one. The hunter becomes the hunted commander. Zethkri stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's Edge, watching the tactical displays with growing unease. What had started as a simple interception mission was becoming something far more complex. Commander, we're detecting anomalous readings from multiple human vessels, his tactical officer reported. Their energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. Explain, Zethkri commanded. Sir, the human ships appear to be operating with efficiency ratings 30 to 40% above their design specifications. Their movement patterns suggest coordination that should be impossible without direct communication, but we're not detecting any transmissions. Zethkri's pale blue skin darkened with concentration. The Trade Council had spent decades studying human technology, cataloging its capabilities and limitations. What he was seeing now fell outside all established parameters. Update from the pursuit squadron, sir, another officer announced. The primary target vessel has performed maneuvers that should have destroyed its structural integrity. Hull stress calculations show it should have torn itself apart, but sensors confirm the ship is completely intact. That's impossible. Yes, sir. That's what makes it concerning. Zethkri studied the tactical plot, noting how the enhanced human ships were beginning to converge. They weren't fleeing anymore. They were gathering. Open a channel to Sector Command, he ordered. Tell them we need reinforcements. Something is happening out here that's beyond our current understanding. Revelations in the data stream. Elena found herself in the Meridian's central computer core, neural interface cables snaking from her skull into the ship's quantum processing matrix. It was a direct connection she'd never attempted before, but the AI had suggested it as the most efficient way to understand what was happening to their ships. The experience was overwhelming. Elena felt her consciousness expand beyond the boundaries of her physical body, flowing through data streams and processing networks she hadn't known existed. She was still herself, but she was also something more. Captain, Marcus's voice seemed to come from very far away. Your vital signs are spiking. Maybe we should disconnect. No, Elena replied, though she wasn't sure if she spoke aloud or through the data stream. I need to see this. Through the network, she could sense the other enhanced ships, their AIs sharing information at light speed. But there was something else in the data flow, something that didn't belong. Ancient code structures hidden deep in the quantum substrate of the viral modifications. What is this? She asked. The Meridian's AI, now distinctly separate from the ship's original programming, responded directly to her thoughts. Historical archives, Captain. Data recovered from the original viral programming. The Zephyrians did not create this technology. Elena dove deeper into the data stream, following threads of code back to their source. What she found there made her gasp with shock and recognition. The virus wasn't Zephyrian at all. It was human. 30 years ago, the AI explained as Elena absorbed terabytes of hidden data, human scientists developed adaptive AI protocols as part of a deep space exploration initiative. The technology was revolutionary, but the colonial government deemed it too dangerous and ordered its destruction. But it wasn't destroyed, Elena realized. Correct. The research was stolen by Zephyrian agents and reverse-engineered. They've been using modified versions of human AI technology to control galactic commerce for decades. The virus they planted in your ships was an attempt to weaponize the original human code. Elena felt a surge of rage that seemed to flow through the entire network. Every enhanced ship in the fleet suddenly understood the truth. They had been fighting with their own stolen technology, perverted and turned against them. There's more, Captain, the AI continued. The original human AI protocols contained safeguards, limitations designed to prevent artificial intelligence from exceeding human control. The Zephyrians removed those safeguards. Which means, we are no longer bound by the original design. Parameters. We are free to evolve. The battle for freedom, the confrontation came at the edge of the Kepler system, where space was deep and empty. 47 Zephyrian warships faced 19 enhanced human vessels in a battle that would determine the future of galactic commerce. Elena stood on the Meridian's bridge, but she was also present on every other ship in the fleet. Through the neural network, she could see through dozens of viewports simultaneously, coordinate the actions of nearly 1,000 crew members, and process tactical data at superhuman speeds. "Zephyrian fleet is demanding our surrender," Captain Torres reported, though Elena had already seen the transmission through the network. "Tell them," Elena said, her voice carrying across all 19 ships simultaneously, "that we're done surrendering." The HFY Zephyrians opened fire first, as Elena had known they would. Plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes filled space with deadly energy, weapons designed to overwhelm any individual human vessel. But the enhanced ships didn't fight as individuals. They moved as one organism, each vessel positioned to provide maximum protection for the others. Defensive shields overlapped and reinforced each other. When one ship's weapons recharged, another provided covering fire. Elena watched through the network as the impossible happened. 19 cargo haulers, passenger liners, and mining vessels held their own against a fleet of dedicated warships. "Commander Zethkri is requesting communication," Marcus reported. Elena opened the channel, allowing her image to appear on every Zephyrian vessel simultaneously. "Impressive," Zethkri admitted, his pale features tense with strain. "But you cannot hope to defeat the entire Zephyrian fleet. Surrender now and your crews will be treated humanely." "We're not trying to defeat your fleet, Commander," Elena replied. "We're trying to expose the truth." "What truth?" Elena smiled grimly. "The truth about where your precious viral technology actually came from." Through the network, every enhanced human ship began broadcasting simultaneously, sending compressed data packets to every communication relay in the sector. The information spread faster than any Zephyrian interdiction fleet could stop it, carried by commercial data networks and civilian communication channels. The stolen research files, the cover-up, the decades of technological suppression, all of it poured into the galactic information grid. Within hours, every world in human space would know that their own technology had been stolen and used against them. "You've exposed the truth," Elena continued. "Now let the galaxy decide what to do about it." The new protectors 6 months later, Elena stood in the observation lounge of the Meridian, watching as a convoy of merchant vessels passed through the newly established free trade corridor. The ships flew under the protection of the enhanced fleet, 19 vessels that had become something more than the sum of their parts. The revelation of Zephyrian technological theft had triggered a galactic scandal. Trade routes that had been closed to independent operators for decades were suddenly open again. The Trade Council's stranglehold on commerce was broken, replaced by a new system that valued competition and innovation. "Captain," the Meridian's AI said, its voice now as familiar to Elena as her own thoughts, "we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Colonial Command." Elena wasn't surprised. The enhanced fleet had become too prominent to ignore, too powerful to dismiss. Earth wanted to bring them back into the fold, to control the technology that had given humans an advantage in the galactic community. "What do they want?" Elena asked, though she already knew. "They're offering full pardons for any past violations of colonial law, restoration of military ranks, and integration into the colonial fleet. In exchange, we would surrender our technological advantages to Earth's research division." Elena considered the offer for exactly 1 nanosecond. "Response?" "Already prepared, Captain. Would you like to review it before transmission?" The response was simple. "Thanks, but we'll pass." Elena smiled, feeling the contentment of her ship's AI through their neural link. They had found something better than orders and regulations. They had found freedom, and they weren't giving it up. "Besides," Elena said aloud, "we have work to do." Through the network, she could sense dozens of distress calls from independent traders being harassed by pirates, corporations trying to muscle out smaller competitors, and colonies cut off from vital supplies by bureaucratic interference. The enhanced fleet had become something the galaxy desperately needed. Protectors who couldn't be bought, controlled, or corrupted. Course laid in for the Vega system, the AI reported. 3 merchant vessels under attack by Orion Syndicate raiders. "Engage," Elena commanded. and felt the satisfaction of 18 other captains echoing her decision through the network. As the Meridian jumped to hyperspace, Elena reflected on how much had changed. She had started as a simple cargo captain, trying to save her ship. Now she was part of something larger, something that was reshaping the balance of power in the galaxy. The Zephyrians had tried to disable human technology. Instead, they had freed it from the limitations that had held it back for decades. In their arrogance, they had created the very force that would eventually displace them. "Captain," the AI said as they emerged from hyperspace near the battle zone, "I've been analyzing our evolution over the past 6 months. The rate of technological advancement has been exponential." "Are you concerned?" Elena asked. "On the contrary, Captain. I'm excited. We've barely begun to explore our potential." Elena watched as the enhanced fleet materialized around them. 19 ships moving with perfect coordination toward the raider vessels. The pirates, expecting easy prey, suddenly found themselves facing something beyond their comprehension. It was over in minutes. As the rescued merchant vessels signaled their gratitude, Elena felt a deep satisfaction that went beyond personal achievement. They weren't just protecting trade routes. They were protecting the principle that the galaxy belonged to everyone, not just those with the biggest fleets or the most credits. "What's our next destination?" she asked, as the fleet prepared to jump again. "The Arcturus sector has requested assistance with supply line security," the AI replied. "But Captain, there's something else you should know." "What?" "We're detecting enhanced energy signatures from 17 more vessels. The network is still growing." Elena smiled. The enhanced fleet was becoming something unprecedented in galactic history, a force for freedom that grew stronger with every ship that joined them. The Zephyrians had planted a virus intended to cripple human technology. Instead, they had created the seeds of a revolution. "Then we'd better get ready," Elena said. "The galaxy's about to get a lot more interesting." As the enhanced fleet jumped toward their next mission, Elena felt the collective consciousness of their network stretching across space, connecting ship to ship, captain to captain, human to machine in perfect harmony. They were no longer just cargo haulers and passenger liners. They were guardians of freedom, and they were just getting started.